All right, a new week and a fresh edition of the Valley's most in-depth, detailed, geeky weather forecast video. We call it Weather for Weather Geeks. It is the 5th day of October, and October has gotten off to a pretty chilly start. I've mentioned this a few times. October of 2019 got off to a very warm start. We had upper 80s early in the month last year, but this year has been a different deal. Let's look at the calendar view for the first 5 days of the month of October. High temperatures have been below average each of the first 5 days, and when you factor in the highs and the lows, this has actually been our coolest start to the month of October through the first 5 days since back in 2011. So, yeah, a little bit of a different deal this year, but we're going to see these blue boxes become outnumbered, I think, by the orange boxes, meaning above average temperatures, as we go into the middle of the month. The day in the life of Youngstown, Ohio. Today we had some fair weather clouds this afternoon. This was a nice looking day, but definitely an October chill in the air. Overall, though, no complaints on a day like today. The wind was not much of a story, and it was a nice day to check out the emerging fall foliage across the region. And with a clear sky this evening, it's going to be a good chance to check out a really nice, bright pass of the International Space Station. This will start at 7:47 this evening, appearing in the northwest sky, disappearing about 5 minutes later in the southeast sky. This will get pretty high, up to about 60 degrees elevation above the horizon. 90 degrees is directly above our heads, so it's up there. This will be a real bright, easy to spot pass of the space station. Just a reminder that the space station does not blink. If you see something flying overhead that's blinking, that's an airplane. The space station does not blink. That's our low-orbiting satellite that has astronauts from many different countries on it, and it's been up there for a while now. And we go through these periods where we don't see a lot of really decent space station passes. It's not a real regular schedule, but we go through some periods in which we see several pretty good ones within the course of a week, and tonight's a real good opportunity to check it out. Not much going on across the country this evening. A front producing some showers down in Florida, a weak front in the upper Midwest. That is it. Thankfully, the heat is starting to subside some in the western U.S. It's in the 70s this evening in San Fran and Los Angeles. Even Phoenix is not that hot by Phoenix standards. And this is good news for the wildfire situation out west. They don't want to see any more hot and dry weather out there. All right, big national weather story, I think, as we head towards the tail end of the week will be Delta. Just a reminder, we're into the Greek alphabet now with the Atlantic hurricane season. We went through the regular alphabet, and now we're into the Greek alphabet, and we have Gamma and Delta out here across the Caribbean. Delta is going to be a much bigger deal. This will strengthen it's already strengthening rapidly. It's going to continue to strengthen rapidly. Over the next few days, that will mean that Delta is likely to become not only a hurricane, but probably a major hurricane as it emerges into the Gulf. This could be a problem for Cancun, for the resort areas around Cancun in Mexico, and maybe a Category 3 storm making its way into the central Gulf. And while some weakening might occur as it approaches the southern U.S., still, this is nothing to be trifled with. This is probably still at least a Category 2 hurricane when it comes ashore somewhere probably between the Louisiana-Texas border and the panhandle of Florida as we go into the day on Friday. So we'll have more updates on Delta. And right now, it doesn't seem likely that Delta will bring moisture to our region, although we can't rule that out just yet. We have a very dry forecast for the next 7 days. The one thing that might kind of mess up that dry forecast is if Delta tracks far enough to the north that maybe we get grazed by a little moisture from that at the end of the weekend and early next week. Right now, odds don't favor that, but it's something that we'll keep an eye on. Uneventful day coming up on Tuesday. A chilly start, but a better afternoon compared to today. I think the breeze is going to become a story on Wednesday. There's really no moisture for this front to wring out, but there's pretty decent amount of wind energy that will get drawn down from aloft to the surface on Wednesday. And I could see where from late morning into the afternoon, we have gusts between 30 and maybe 35, 40 miles per hour. Behind this, a brief cool down on Thursday, not as windy Thursday, but a cooler day with temperatures struggling to get out of the 50s. Now, the pattern is going to evolve some. That ridge out west that is something they don't want to see is finally going to get kind of squashed with some troughs coming into the western U.S., some needed rain, a cool down out there. And when you get troughiness in the western U.S. out into the Rockies, downstream from that, you see a ridge oftentimes being pumped up, and that means for us that we're going to see a prolonged period of pretty quiet weather with a warming trend by the weekend. I've got 70s in the forecast for the upcoming weekend, and the 8 to 14 day outlook more of the same. This does not look like a very chilly pattern as we go into the middle portions of October, so it may be some time before we see any frost or, I should say, hard freeze concerns. Maybe ongoing occasional light frost concerns, but a hard freeze, lows in the 20s, it doesn't seem all that likely anytime real soon. All right, early in each month we get an update on the seasonal outlooks from the European Center, and I like to show you these just kind of for entertainment purposes only, but we start to take them a little more seriously as we get into mid to late fall when we start thinking about the winter forecast. This is the fresh update for meteorological winter, December, January, February. A lot of orange on this map. Now, this modeling tends to have kind of a warm bias in the longer range, but overall the idea has not changed much since the last issuance of this set of guidance. If we're going to see cooler than average temperatures this winter, it may be most likely in Alaska, western Canada, and maybe down into parts of the northwestern U.S. Don't see a lot of information to suggest that cool weather will dominate across the eastern U.S., and precipitation-wise, kind of in classic La Nina fashion, while it may not be a very cold winter here locally, precipitation odds favor it being above average. That does not mean above average snow, it just means above average precipitation would be favored. This is pretty classic stuff for La Nina, and this La Nina episode, while it may not be technically strong, it may be in the moderate category. So when you see either La Nina or El Nino becoming strong, then the correlation to the winter weather around here becomes more obvious and stronger. So if we see a kind of a medium strength La Nina, then you have a lot of information at our disposal from past years in which we've had stronger La Ninas, and how the weather behaved those winters may be something that we will rely heavily on when it comes to making the winter forecast. So probably not that cold, but it may be kind of unsettled. When we break this down kind of month by month, here's a look at the overall pattern in December on, again, same set of modeling, suggesting kind of a zonal flow across the U.S. Some blocking up in Greenland. Look at the anomalies up here. If we were to see some blocking up here, that would argue that we would see some colder episodes at times, I think, in December. But the modeling suggests that blocking in the northern Atlantic up towards Greenland is not much of a thing anymore by January, and here's February. If this is on to the right idea, this is not a cold-looking pattern at all for us in the heart of winter in January and into February. All that being said, my official winter forecast is a few weeks away, coming up at the end of October, maybe the first couple of days of November. We'll probably do it before Election Day. And I've been dropping plenty of hints right now. Again, it's no secret. There's no data to suggest that this is going to be the reverse of last winter, a harshly cold and snowy winter after last year's dud. There's just nothing to suggest that at this point. But we will pin down the details and have an official outlook for you coming up right around Halloween. Thanks for watching Weather for Weather Geeks tonight. I'll see you back here on Tuesday.